Blog Talk Radio.
You are now listening to the Evolution Hour with hosts Rob Gauthier and George Farakis. Hey everybody, this is the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. This is Rob.
And this is George.
And we are here today at this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday evening at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6 o'clock Pacific Time. And we have got a great show ahead for us today. We've got many, many things to talk about. Before we start getting into those things that we talk about, we'll first go over the few announcements that we make every week. This show is a show that we share with the collective consciousness so that we may share our ideals to help raise the collective so that you guys can help share your ideas on a public format and get them ideas out there to help others process. And in this, it does come to a cost to us to broadcast, but it never does hurt to ask anyone who is willing to help cover the cost of that, if they choose to, if it's in your highest excitement, to give a donation. And you can go to trebchanneling.com and send a donation if you like to the Rob and George Show. You can also contact us through PayPal, therobandgeorgeshow@gmail.com, all one word, all small letters. That's another way to do it. The other thing that we always talk about is how you can contact us elsewhere. You can always call us in at area code 347-308-8788 to call into the show every Wednesday. You can also go to the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour like page on Facebook, and also go to Friends of the Rob and George Show, which is not a like page. It's an open group in Facebook for all of the people who enjoy the show, who enjoy the collective consciousness of the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, and to put your energy into that, to have an off-air interaction with myself and George and the co-creations that we've made here, this loving family energy that we've had here at the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. And this is done every week, like I said, every week on Wednesday, 9 o'clock p.m. You can call us, talk to us, chat, send your questions, your love, your energy, anything of that nature. Now that those announcements are done, what are we seeing here, brother? What has been the talk around the campfire in the last week or so that you're aware of?
Well, I think things are becoming more positive. I just got a feeling of that. It depends on where we are in our evolution of consciousness, but I think that for the most part, a lot of these energies are lifting a bit, and I think as we move on, that getting into the spring, I think, and summer, that things will start looking a little better for all of us, or have that feeling of that we've passed something, that we've digested something that we needed to purge and let go of.
Well, absolutely, and that's something that we talked about on the New Year's special with Treb. And it's funny, too, we talked about this before today, brother, about how to the best of our recollection that Treb was talking about in the second or third week of February, how things would change, and by the middle of the year it would change drastically, and we're noticing changes everywhere in every way, shape, and form. One of the very first things of change that we noticed was last week's guest, Helene Lipson, brother. Amazing, amazing guest.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's we can't forget about these energies that Treb talked about. I'm glad you brought that up, because it does give some perspective on his channelings and the things that he does say. If we listen carefully to those things, it's very important to listen to those channelings very carefully. But yeah, Helene was just remarkable. Some of the readings that she gave on air were just, knowing the people that were calling in and their particular situations, knowing about their life situation, was really incredible to see how spot on she was in regards to those channelings that she was giving, because it was like a channeling. I know it was an astrological aspects point of view from the time of birth, but it was really incredible. I love that.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Actually, it's funny because after she explained her technique, I gave her a nickname. I dubbed her the Ephemeris Channeler, because she uses that special technique, that Ephemeris book, which is basically a book that has numbers and symbols of every moment in the last 100 years. I don't know how far it goes back or how far it goes forward, but every person on this earth today can correlate their birthday or a time of something special in their life and connect it to this book of symbols and numbers. And through that, she's almost channeling their personal energy, not because she knows the numbers. Well, I'm sure she does. She's a numerologist. I'd imagine most astrologers do dip in both, but not because she knows the symbols, not because she knows the order, which, again, she does know all of these things, but it's the energy that she's pulled. So it's almost like she's channeling that Ephemeris book.
Yeah, it is. It just, she was kind enough to give us, both of us, a reading as well the next day, and it really affected me in a profound way. I know it did you as well. And I've had this whole week actually has been a really profound week for me. I've had dreams. I know that she, in the sessions when she did she gave us both kind of a blessing, so to speak, to the higher, the archangels and the higher spirit guides that help humanity. And maybe that did something, but I'll tell you, brother, it was really affected me in a positive way. I had some really prolific dreams. I had some revelations myself that were really incredible. So it was great. I mean, she is incredible in terms of what she does, and I would anybody that's interested in finding more about their self and their higher self and maybe a life's purpose or a direction should definitely contact her for a reading, because it's just incredible.
Oh my, absolutely, brother. Perfect, spot on. She gave myself and George both a reading. We were probably on for a good 45 minutes to an hour with her, which is a very huge blessing, a very, very great gift that she gave back to us so that we could share our experiences and the knowledge that we learned with you guys. And I'm telling you what, you're right, brother. Anybody who ever wants to contact last week's guest, Helene Lipson, they can go to her website, which is insightsbyhelene.com. Her name is spelled Helane, and it's insightsbyhelene.com. All one word, all small letters, if you're ever interested. Also, we posted that actual last week's session on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's also in the archives for Blog Talk. Anybody who missed last week, I highly suggest you go back and listen to it, because it wasn't just myself and you, brother. On the show, she did all of these guests, and some of these people we know personally. They're good friends of the Rob and George show, and they were spot on. We had people contacting us and saying, listen, guys, this lady is amazing. She was 100% accurate and spot on. So absolutely, if you're interested in listening to that and absorbing it. I know, brother, that me and you had knowledge about her as a person, as an interviewer, and I had the knowledge of her work a little bit before, because I had done a show with her, plus she had done a session with Treb before, but you had just become aware of that more recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't know that aspect of what she did. She's a great interviewer and has these wonderful people on her different shows. But I'll tell you, I think that what she does and the way she does it is really special. It really is. I haven't, like I said, maybe because I kind of listen to things and get a different view. I use my discernment to kind of decipher what is being said. So there wasn't. I know yours had a lot of different aspects to it, but mine was brief,
Sure.
but very powerful, and it really pushed me. It really opened me up in a way that I never really. I'm still trying to understand how that worked, but it has produced something very positive to me in terms of my intuition, psychic abilities. I know she mentioned I had those things, but whatever it was, it just kind of opened the floodgates of a lot of different things, and it'd be great to talk about that. Sure.
Yeah, and that's what I think we should do, brother. I see a long list of callers today, and we will get to you guys eventually as the show progresses. But some of these insights, and brother, I know you have barely scraped the surface with these insights with me because we haven't had that time to communicate about these. But I could tell just from knowing you, as long as I have, and knowing your energy and connecting to you heart to heart so often, I know that these insights have dramatically and profoundly affected you. And these insights that you're receiving, you had said something about visualizing in an awakened state, and that's something you have never done before. And that in itself is profound. If you want to share any of those experiences, I think for me, out of my own interest, personally, I would love to hear about those visualizations that you were having in an awakened state, because that is profound. That's a very huge energetic opening.
Yeah, it really is. For me, it's because I don't channel, but it seems as if my ability of through the channeling, of course, they looking into the souls, your Akashic records and things that you did or have been in the past. It seems like a theme of mine is using this ability of discernment and knowledge from the past is why I can decipher these metaphors in the way that I can. And recently, like I said, since last week's show, I've had some really crazy dreams that had, of course, which don't really make a lot of sense when you're doing those. When you're, after you wake up, they're kind of garbled. But during the day, through the days after that particular show, I've been thinking about the past things that we've been talking about on the show, which is like these past lives and how they're affecting us. And I confirmed with Treb that these past lives or these aspects of ourselves in these concurrent timelines are still alive. Okay, so it's not like it's whatever they're experiencing, positive or negative, it's not in stone. And then a few days ago, I had this while I was meditating, I had this picture in my mind where I was on a stage in an auditorium, and I was looking at myself on the stage in a spotlight, and I was perceiving myself from the side, looking at myself in the spotlight, and then I looked out into the darkness of where the audience would be, and all of a sudden the lights went on in the audience. And the feeling that I was getting by that is that the people in the audience were aspects of myself. And there was, I don't, you can't count. It was a big auditorium, but there had to be 500 or 800 people in this audience. And all of them were, some of them were humanoid, some of them were light, some of them were they were kind of humanoid. They were unrecognizable in terms of what we would normally think. But in thinking of like the pictures that Awaken does for us, it was images like that, and the feelings kept coming that that were showing me the multidimensionality of ourselves. So what I was looking at was an audience of the different aspects of myself.
Oh my God, that is profound.
It is, and then the feelings of, and again, it wasn't words that were spoken, but the feeling that I got was that these were aspects of myself that were in these concurrent parallel realities, that were, some of them were the higher self, the higher dimensional aspects of myself, because they were ones in the chairs that were just light. They were just light beings. Some of them were kind of darkness where you couldn't see the face. So I'm assuming they were possibly the maybe negative aspects of these concurrent timelines.
Absolutely.
And the feeling that I got that they were looking at me in this current timeline that I am, and if we assume that we're in the fifth dimension, that the darker aspects were third dimensional beings that were still in these, what we would call past lives, that were looking to me as the higher self. And I got the feeling that they were the people that were looking at me to send them light into these negative situations that I was going through. So if we think of ourselves as fifth dimensional beings, and the concurrent aspects of ourselves that we're in or are in the three-dimensional aspects, they were looking at me to send them the light and the love to those aspects. And it was a really profound thing to like look at this from a perspective where I'm on stage in the light, they were there, and showing me that how really grand we are as aspects of ourselves in terms of our soul. We're much bigger than we think we are. And it really had a profound effect on me. And because I was asking these questions previously in the previous shows about this past life, I had something in me that needed to find out more about this, because if everything is happening in the now, then these must be beings that are incarnated, whether here on Earth, on another parallel dimension or reality, and even other aspects that are incarnated on other star systems, like Tani and Tau and Rotel and Toliti and these other aspects of myself that I know about. But there have to be hundreds, if not thousands, of aspects of ourselves that are currently being lived out from these incarnations on Earth, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes tons of sense. And the thing that I find so brilliant about it, these shadow aspects of yourself, too, we could look at that in symbolism of many different varieties. I mean, we could look at that as these third density entities. We could look at it as higher density negative entities, or we could even see them as the same thing, like when people die and pass on into an afterlife and become disconnected and disgruntled and can't connect back to physical. They become obsessed with the physical cycle, so they engage into shadow figures. They use light energy to manifest themselves back into the earth for the experience of the earth because they're so addicted to it. And also, the last symbolism, which is the most important of all, is the shadow parts of ourself, the negative aspects of ourself that we chip away at every day when we try to come in contact with our spiritual self. And to me, brother, just what you said, that is exactly what I feel. Those shadow aspects of ourselves are parts of ourselves in there that need that truly need to see that higher self version of us. And when they're looking at you on that stage, that is such a huge symbol of accepting and respecting that specific fractal, knowing that as you're going through your transference time, you are literally affecting every single aspect of you in past or present, and that altogether their outcome is changed by your outcome. And that's beautiful, brother.
Yeah, I mean, and if we look at it on a bigger scale, if we look at it, I happen to be listening to the Bringers of the Dawn, and I haven't listened to that for quite a while, but in listening to that, there was messages of where the Earth was seeded from the Pleaidians, which took the DNA, of course, from their ancestors, which were the Arcturians, the Syrians, and all of this. So, which made me think of, when they say that we are all one, that means that the DNA that the Pleiadians have, and also the DNA that the Arcturians and the higher, all the other star systems out there, that their DNA is in us as well. And maybe in the story it says that they're coming back, which would be our past, if we look at it in linear time, to heal something. So what they're doing to us is what we're doing to our past lives. And it was really profound to see that even our soul needs to evolve and grow. And these multi-dimensional aspects of ourselves are just looking for that light, because let's face it, if we're in the fifth dimension and these past life aspects are still living out in the third dimension, then aren't we the higher self? Wouldn't we be the higher self to these aspects of ourselves?
That's how I would see it. That's exactly how I'd see it.
I mean, if we've evolved during this ascension period into the fifth dimension, and these aspects of our past lives were in the third dimension for sure, that means that they are looking at us as our higher selves. So that's how important it is to love yourself and to send that love to these other aspects, so we can change the timeline in the past, which of course will change the present and the future. I know it's kind of deep, but this is what I got out of it.
No, that's exactly perfect, brother. That's exactly how I feel. I think everything you said is great. I think that's what that visualizations are getting so much symbolism in it, because it's a connecting. That, to me, that's channeling in itself. That information is getting handed down. It's a download of sorts.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. And like I said, what Helene had, she covered a few different points, and through those different bullet points that she mentioned, had brought these these thoughts into my head, and it was really made me understand of what that love means. It's not like it's the love, it's the fabric of the universe that we are in, and it's the separation that we go through when we incarnate on this earth that creates that duality. But it's something that has always been on earth and will always be on earth. And I think that, and then you can tie this into your relationships now, and you can go down so many different roads on what this means in terms of loving yourself. Being in duality would mean that what Treb talked about in terms of balancing the masculine and feminine, that means that each of us have an internal couple that is within us, both masculine and feminine, that have to be balanced in a union to become one. And I think once we balance those things, those aspects of the divine masculine and feminine, then we could become, because basically the masculine is the logic part of us, and the feminine is the feeling aspect of us.
Sure.
So if we balance those energies, then we're becoming one, which would really raise our vibration to bring those sort of relationships to ourselves, through this magnetic attraction, through the law of attraction. And it just all makes sense now. I mean, it's really the bigger picture of all of this information that's being channeled. And, we can take it wherever way you want to go, brother. We can take this down and kind of dissect it. But it's really, it was very profound for me. And,
well, that visualized experience that you had in a meditative state was also accompanied by energetic sensation. I remember you saying you felt when you stood up, it was like electricity was going through your body too. And I know that for myself, right before I started being able to channel and connect, those were the experiences I was getting. And that in itself is a huge indicator that the DNA activation is set, that DNA activation is coming. And that in itself, you can link back to all these fractal versions of ourselves. Like you said, we could go in a million ways. We could look at it through the DNA activation part. We could go through how those fractals connecting to each other and to us at this moment affect ourselves and those simultaneously. And they're all valid parts, and they're all very important. But my interest in this occurrence, I'm trying to find out. I know that there was parts of that session with Helene that you felt like possibly sharing some insights or maybe even some dialogue from that. What part of that session affected you the most? You don't have to get into specifics, brother, if you don't want to, about what was said back and forth, but I mean, just as far as it goes, what was the topic that brought on this huge feeling of resonance? Because you said just at that whole thing, you switched over this energy, and it was just instantly, it locked into you.
Yeah, it was like, she mentioned us, and, the synchronicities that brought you and I together a few years ago. But yeah, the DNA, as far as the DNA activation, it's happening. I mean, we've talked about the symptoms and things like that, but I think, the activation on a cellular level of the DNA in our bodies is happening. It has to happen on such a gradual, in such a gradual fashion, because the energies, we wouldn't be able to handle it in terms of our human body. So I think the purging and letting go of all this negativity and the balancing of these masculine and feminine energies are what we have been experiencing in the past few years. And I think it's definitely happening. And I think the more that we are expanding, and I always like to push the envelope on whatever I'm doing with this, because, we talked about permission slips and things like that, and the fact that, they're actually telling you it's a permission slip. So what does that mean? Do you want to grab it, or do you want to go around it? I mean, it's kind of it's interesting that they use that metaphor as a permission slip. It's granting you the choice to choose to, do you need these little baby steps, or do you want to go in the fast lane? And that's the way I always looked at it. And I've, since Treb started talking about those, and Bashar, when I started listening to them, that was a big thing for him, to use that metaphor as permission slips. So we're even given the choice on that. It's like the choice of free will to be able to choose how fast you want to go, how fast you want to evolve. Either way, you're in a great place. You're going to get there either way. But if you have the, depending on what your soul's purpose is and what you have to do in this existence, dictates where you want to go. And it's, they're very, using these metaphors, they have to do it in that way because of free will. They can't tell you, okay, just go down this road and here you'll find all your answers. It can't be that way. It's got to be your choice, and you have to reach out for that information. And I think it's so beautiful the way that it's orchestrated, because it gives you the ability to choose to bounce back and forth. I mean, you have so many different options you can go with this type of information, but you know, like that vision I got in that auditorium really showed me how large we are. I mean, if you think like this aspect, like you're just this one person on Earth, I mean, that's it couldn't be farther from the truth. You're so much larger than you think you are, and I think that these past lives are influencing us more than we really know. I think that whatever positive or negative that we're experiencing are aspects of these concurrent timelines. That's what I believe.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that they're bleed-throughs, but they were meant to bleed through. But, you know, we're going through this ascension period, so all of this knowledge is coming out, and I think it's coming out so we can push the envelope of our consciousness and start running with it, because there's really no limit. I mean, why limit yourself? You know, what you think is what is, and you know it's you know, there's no limit on what you can grasp from these channelings. I mean, everybody's channeling now. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's like they're the modern teachers and philosophers of our time. You know, it's like here's the information, decipher it, and create these new belief systems on how much power you have. You know, it's like, you know, whatever's going on in your reality is something that you thought. So, you know, how much power is that? You know, but you have to really understand what that means and understand the power in that, and look at whatever happens, even if it's negative, look at that as a positive, because it's a choice to look at it either way. It's really showing you something about yourself that you need, that's probably going on in a past life that you need to find out. I mean, the relationships, the mirroring back and forth in relationships are showing you things about yourself that you need to work out so you can evolve.
Well, what's interesting too, brother, is when you look at this, I always had to find a balance with this situation, with the idea of, are we affected by past lives, or are past lives affected by us? What is the concept? How does it work? And the way Treb described it to me really helped me grab a grasp on that. He says that the energy that you're in now, you have free will. You're able to do whatever you want. You're able to think and believe and feel how you want. And through that, finding your energy in that now moment will allow you to be able to connect to all those aspects of yourself that have any similarity, whether it's a blockage of a lower chakra, whether it's a belief system, whether it's an overall experience, whether it's a parallel path that goes almost exactly. You're reaching out to these fractals of the other person, other version of that soul. And when you do that, that makes that energetic connection bond. So if you believe that everybody hates you and you just can't get through life because everybody's hating you, all the fractals that share that belief are going to connect to you. That energetic bond gets stronger. So it's both of those things. It's we are affecting them. They are affecting us. When we have a good day and they're not, they can have an enlightenment, or we can get the crud version. It goes both ways. How do we balance that out, though? This is the thing that I've struggled with. How do we overtake that in the moment?
Okay, well, here's the thing with emotions. And with emotions, let's take negative emotions. Okay, the positive emotion is a positive emotion, so let's take that as good. But it's the negative emotions that are affecting us in this perception of negativity. So I think any negative emotion that you've ever experienced and you've not resolved, and what I mean by resolve is, instead of burying it or, you know, sweeping it under the rug, that's where we get caught up. That's where the hooks come out. And I think that's where a lot of people have problems because of these reoccurring issues, and the same thing in incarnations. It's another karmic thing that we have to keep going through. But why do we go through it? Because we haven't dealt with it. And if you don't deal with these issues internally and turn it into a positive, like what can you gain from, I mean, there's different, the different etherical bodies that we have, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical. If we don't resolve these emotions, whatever they are, a past relationship, a past job loss, or whatever, however they affected us, if somebody's abused as a child, or whatever those emotions are that aren't dealt with, we have to resolve those things. And knowing that you can resolve those, as much, however it hurts, you have to embrace it. What is this showing me? Why am I feeling this way? You have to really delve it. You have to dive into it. You have to dive into these things, and you can't look at them. And you have to throw away the judgment. You have to throw away the negative feelings that you have associated with those things. If you know that your true nature is love, then it's really all it's something that you needed to show yourself about yourself. But I think what a lot of people are doing is if they figure, okay, if I take this emotion and just bury it and it'll go away, it's not going to go away, And I think that's where we need to start, is really digging those old emotions, if they happen when you're 5 years old or 10 years old or 15 or whenever. You can go back. I mean, again, it's all in the now. So you can go back and take that little child by the hand and say, I love you. Everything's going to be okay. Resolve those past hurts that you have in your life. Whatever you've done and that would have the perception of negativity, go back and revisit that person. Why did I do this? What did I need to show myself about myself? And you can throw away the judgment at that point in time, so you're not carrying that, oh, I did this, I murdered this person, I did this to this person, I caused this damage or whatever. You have to resolve those negative aspects of yourself to move on and resolve it. But you have to embrace them. I mean, love that thing that you did. If it's negative, love it. You got to love it to death to have it move on in your life. And so you can get rid of that one aspect. And there's many, many more. But imagine carrying these through these different incarnations. And I think what we're going through right now is purging of all those things. But we have to be in the knowing that we can fix them, because again, these aspects of ourselves are still alive. They're still going through. Maybe the negative thing hasn't happened yet. Maybe the potentials or the potential of this certain thing that was going to happen in that life, you can stop it before it happens. Maybe that's why you're the higher self of that third dimensional aspect of yourself, if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely. That higher aspect of yourself going back, and this, I think this doesn't just apply to past lives either. It applies to parts of our life that we're living now from younger times. Like you said, go back to that child part of you. And it's funny, too, because myself and a lady who is very intimately connected to many people out there in the soul family, a person who I know very well, Kalina Angell, and I were just talking about something like that. There was the idea of looking back and looking at the childhood aspects of you, parts of you that cause pain, and reconnecting to those with love and compassion. And is it just as simple as closing your eyes, meditating, looking and connecting to the heart and saying, hey, I accept you, I love you, I have compassion for you because you were hurt as a child or because you had a negative experience? Or does it have to be deeper than that? I mean, how do you perceive this, brother?
Well, no, it doesn't. It's not difficult at all. But you have to get out of your logic mind, and you have to do it from your heart. You see, because the higher aspects of ourself are light beings, and they're higher dimensional beings. It's only in the physical third dimension that we're incarnate on Earth here that gives us the denseness. So we have to. So we can experience these things, but the key is to say to these negative experiences, what is this? Why did I choose to experience this in this incarnation? Why did I choose to show this to myself? And the key is, don't just bury it away like it never happened, because it's a part of you. Okay, it's a part of you that you needed, your soul wanted you to experience, so you could make a full circle and make that negative, that perception of negativity into a loving thing. Say, oh, I see why I chose to go through this experience. But again, you can't, if you're holding these negative emotions about yourself, what are you doing? You're just lowering your vibration. Remember how they used to talk about those certain reptilians that would feed off your emotions? I mean, how better to feed off someone's lower vibrational feelings than to know that if they know that these beings are not enlightened enough to deal with these situations and raise their vibration back up, then these lower vibrational beings have nothing to feed off of. See, we've been closed off for thousands and thousands of years. Now that this ascension period is coming, we can go back and clear those aspects, if you want to call it karmic. I mean, that's just another metaphor too, but it's the only one that we've used to use that as an idea of how we need to go back and release these aspects. But during the old energy that we've come out of, those negative emotions that we've held on just lower your vibration. So each one that you can delve into and make light of, because you have to you just have to be cool with what has happened and not hold it inside of you. Because holding it inside of you, does it do you any good to hold on to something that happened to you at 5 years old? I mean, think about it.
No.
I mean, it's your choice, right? Okay, am I going to hold on to this, or am I going to see what happened, why this happened, and turn it into a positive thing? Don't keep it as a negative thing swept under a carpet. Get into it. Roll your sleeves up, dig into it, and make that negative thing a positive, because it's your choice. Again, there's no linear time. The higher dimensions don't have a watch. We can go back and fix these things and move on. We chose to go through those experiences. You know that, brother. I mean, we chose who we are, our body type, our family, everything, and the experiences that we wanted to go through. Okay, so if you know this, then how can you hold that negative experience hostage? Why would you choose to do that? Why don't you choose to go back and fix that?
Sure. It just adds negativity.
Yeah, it's just lowering your vibration, which any entities that are feeding off these negative emotions, and again, eventually they won't exist, because as we evolve, there's no more emotions for them to feed off of. So as we evolve, they'll dissipate away. I mean, if you want to look at that, if you're stuck in these lower vibrations, there's entities out there that will be there for you. They'll hang out with you. I mean,
oh yeah, and then they'll co-create some pretty gnarly experiences with you, because that's what you're allowing it to do is feed off that negativity, and they'll add to it.
Yeah, you're creating it. You're creating that choice. I mean, it's as simple as letting go and just doing the work that's needed to be in your mind, in your imagination, whatever you want to call it. It's as simple as that if you let it be that simple.
Well, sure. And I think we overcomplicate it a lot as humans.
Yeah, well, that's the old energy. It's the logic. It's the ego. But the heart doesn't do that. If you murder someone and you go up, there's nobody judging you up there. The soul doesn't care. You can murder 1 million people. The soul doesn't care. It'll make your human experience negative. I mean, if you want to spend your life in prison, but does it actually do anything? It's just another experience for your soul. But
sure.
There's no judgment after life. So I think, everything is a choice. It's all about choice. It's like, do I want to hang on to this thing? Do I need to hang? What is it doing for me?
I think too, brother, the people... Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is you created this for yourself to show something to yourself about yourself. So who are you going to get mad at? Who are you going to be upset about? You chose to do this. You chose to... I mean, if we know what we know, if you have the foundations of how the nature of reality works, how can you be upset over something that happened in the past when you have the knowledge, if you know what you know, to go back and heal that? You can heal that and let it go once and then go after the next one. Whatever it is, whatever you're feeling. Your thoughts tell all. Your reality tells all what you're experiencing. I mean,
I think that's the problem, brother, with so many people that look back into the parts of their life that either they feel victimized or they feel as if they have done wrong to others, and those energies swell up within them, and it causes guilt and shame, and they carry it on almost as a part of their character now. It's a part of their overall personality now. And the removing that is much more difficult if you fundamentally look at those parts of yourself that you believe you've carried on from the past. It's harder to change your overall personality than it is to go back and forgive yourself or the other person in that situation.
Well, exactly. That's the judgment you hold for yourself. That's why all of this is telling you to love yourself. I mean, you gotta let go of all that before you can let any good in. I mean, if you're carrying all of this emotional baggage and you don't let it go, where are you going to be? Your vibrations are going to be down. But I mean, it's a simple choice. When I was talking about the multi-dimensionality of ourselves, and again, you have to look at this in the big picture. And you and I are familiar with this, but you can't really look at anything as a limitation anymore. And if you do, then you'll be limited by your thoughts. But we're bound by the collective consciousness, but to a certain extent, as we all evolve, and as Treb said, your being positive sends that positive transfer of energy into the grid, which makes the whole Earth a little bit more positive. So I think a lot of us need to let go of these things that we can't hold on to anymore. And like I said, any negativity is not a judgment from the higher self. Any negativity that you do, it's just you're just making your human existence a little bit more uncomfortable. Like if you do something and you have to go to prison, well, it's like, but there's no judgment after that. So it's like you can't hang on to this. You got to let go of these things that are are binding you up. And when you let go of that baggage is when you can start growing and letting more good positivity in it. But you're hanging on to this negative baggage. Well, there's no more room for any good to come in, any light to come in. And I think a lot of us have done that. in some aspect or another. We've done this to ourselves, but it's a learning process. But that's what's so important about talking these different aspects and pushing these ideas to create these new belief systems, that it is as easy as going back in your mind and healing that child, that teenager, and forgive yourself and love yourself, because you're bigger and better in the reality of life. You are bigger than who you are here in this life experience.
Well, absolutely. I have enjoyed these insights very much, brother, that you've had through there. I mean, some of this stuff is very profound, and all of it's very profound and very heartfelt. I do want to pay attention to, there's a list of callers that are calling in, and I know you guys are there. I can see you. I do appreciate that you're calling in, but right now, the energy is flowing with this conversation, and I'd really like George to share a little bit more before we get into some calls for this evening. But I really, the thing, brother, that I want to know from your experience, what is the single most important thing that you have learned from this connection, this session with Helene, that's kind of helped open these, I don't know if they're barriers, because I know that a lot of this stuff is already in your heart and in your mind, but the way that you put it together and the way that you're opening new doors to see these new things, these new things that you didn't even think about before, you're now getting these realizations, and that's very, very profound. What do you think the most single important part of all of this connecting is?
Well, what did she say? I'm trying to think back about, you were listening as well. She said something about being almost like having the chart of an indigo child, and although I'm older than that norm, she said that that a lot of this past life, this karmic stuff, is already released, and she said, what did she say by this? I think for both of us, she said by the spring and summer is when we'll actually start, harvesting the seeds that we basically have set up through the last couple of years. So there's, which tells you that whatever we've done, and we were in the right place at the right time if we choose to look at that. Wherever you are in life, and knowing that you're in the right place at the right time, even if it's negative, But again, you really have to delve into it. But again, it's this knowing that all is well. It's knowing in your heart that I'm experiencing this thing for a reason. And I think once you release that, then and you don't have to carry it anymore. I mean, you don't have to carry it on your back because, but you really have to delve into these things. We're holding whatever's happened in this lifetime, and plus we're holding all the other things. If we're the team leader of our concurrent lifetimes, then a lot of this negativity is being purged through this. So you have to deal with it one by one. But I think these negative aspects that we're going through are showing us something, and we can't hold on to them anymore. We have to let them go. Whatever's happened, it happened for a reason. Because we chose it. Go ahead, brother.
Go ahead, bro. I was just going to ask you, what do you perceive as the biggest baggage that you've carried around in your own personal life that you've noticed in these last few years of awakening that you've been able to remove, that you actually didn't even notice it was there until then?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I always thought of myself as being, if I look back before the spirituality that happened like 2009, 2010, I always thought that I was abundant. I mean, I never thought that, and maybe that's why the abundance was always there, because I never had the sense of lack.
Sure.
And when I did have the sense of lack, and then I used these tools that I've learned, there was no lack there. It was just like something that I had to show myself, something that I had to experience to show me that I was abundant. I mean, and like we've talked about before, abundance doesn't mean, isn't monetary. There's so many other things that you're abundant, that you could be abundant for, with love, with relationships, with whatever, family, positive things that have happened. But I think I've let go of a lot of things. I know that Helene said that a lot of the stuff that I was holding, maybe from more of a, let's say I'm going to take an example of a relationship. When I wasn't true to myself, is when I experienced a shallow relationship. Whether someone is interested in you for because you're cute, or because you have a nice house, or you have money, or something like that. It was more of a shallow relationship versus the new paradigm now, which is actually, like Treb said, get to know the person first. Find out what their intentions are. I mean, we need to create a new paradigm for relationships, because both male and female are balancing these masculine and feminine energies. We're both going through this, this push and pull and this tug of war between us. But as the old energy goes through, we need to, before, for me, sex has always been kind of a sacred thing. So it's looking into the intentions, as Treb would say, being friends with a person first, finding out who they are versus going through maybe the dysfunctional way that it used to be, and having the sexual relationship first, and then finding all these problems and things that someone is carrying, the baggage that they're carrying as well. So I think that was I'll never forget when Treb said that, because it was very important, and it makes perfect sense to slow down, take stock of what you're feeling, the intent of the other person. So you're actually going into the relationship with kind of the blinders off this time. And
you get a chance to vibrationally learn from each other and see if you're vibrationally fit, because we have so many soulmates in our life that run into each other at all times, at all places, and some of them are there to show us some pretty rough things. And that's not bad, but it's rough to deal with. And if you can prevent that and learn the same lessons in a positive way, well, let's do it that way.
Yeah, and that's a good point you brought up, brother, because, just because someone is your soulmate does not mean that, and again, they're here to show you a lesson, so it's still positive. I mean, at the end of the day, it's positive, okay? So always look at it as positive, and not to hang on to the baggage of that bad experience of that relationship. But I think that moving forward, first we need to let go of the baggage from that old relationship, so we can make room for a more loving relationship, more of a high vibrational relationship. So look at the negative as positive, and moving forward, actually get to know the person, find out who they are, and don't be afraid of being alone. To love yourself, give yourself time to love yourself first and foremost, because if you don't do that, you're just going to attract, what did they say in the that Bringers of the Dawn? It's victims find victims and victors find victors, which means that if you're a victim and feeling victimized, who are you going to attract? Another low vibrational soulmate. Most likely they're going to be a soulmate. So,
sure.
But if if you're flying high and you love yourself as much as you possibly can on all the etherical levels, then you're actually going to attract that high vibrational person into your life. And it's so beautiful. I mean, like I said, I don't look at anything as negative anymore. The things that are happening in the world are happening for a reason. So I think, we need to get off of the soapbox and feel sorry for everybody, because it's happening, and people need to experience what they need to experience. I think we all need to experience things on a collective level, but we don't need to carry everybody's baggage. But we will, unless we do the work on our inner self and love ourselves, first. So I think a lot of things that Helene said, and she, like I said, she mentioned that relationship thing for me, that a couple of the past ones have been more on the shallow side, and they definitely were. They definitely
Sure.
were. It was the physical. It was the, I dated her because she was attractive instead of, again, spending time to get to know the person, find out who this person really is, and making it a good fit. And we can't forget that as we're evolving, and as Treb said, you remember when he said to me, I asked him, why are these people being attracted to me? And he said, because of your light. And you could carry the light, and these lower vibrational people are attracted to that light. So you have to use your discernment and slow things down, because that person might not be the best for you. They'll be attracted to you, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be the best for you. So you really have to be careful in that aspect. I mean, more so I think for women that they're in the spirituality, their vibrations are high, so they're attracting a lot of let's say men to them. But you still have to use your discernment, because they want that light. They want your light. And you really have to, again, I'm saying this as if I was a woman, I would definitely take the time to find out who this person is and see what this person is showing me, mirroring back to me in this initial meeting of this relationship. And by doing so, you just kind of eliminate a lot of the heartache that will come afterwards, versus, if anything, making a new friend, maybe a lifetime friend, But,
well, sure, soulmate's a soulmate, so no matter what level you connect to them, they'll always be beneficial. Like you said, even the bad experiences teach us. But if you can circumvent the heartache, heartbreak part by just being aware of yourself and aware of the people around you and how your vibrations match. And that's the thing, too. We do know that vibrationally we will never, ever connect to people who we're not able to connect to or vibrationally are not in our spectrum. That's just the way it works. And when people like that do come into our lives, they're out pretty quickly. So that part is understood pretty well. But even the ones who are there to teach us the lesson, we got to take that power back in ourselves to see what lessons we need to be taught. Because a lot of us have already, we know what heartbreak is. We know what terrible relationships are. And for those people who need that light from you, or that need or expect that overwhelming sense of love that you can give them, it just means that they have a deficiency of love in themselves. And that need to be loved can be dangerous for intimate relationships. It can be very dangerous for relationships in general, even friendships. There always has to be a balance. And that's one of my lessons I've learned in the last year or so, not to take on other people's energies. I would love people so much and so dearly, and they would be from a really disconnected place, and I would try to help them in any way, and I gave away myself to assist them. I gave away my own self to help them because I cared for them so much, and you have to respect yourself enough not to give up yourself to make others happy. If you're happy in yourself, all the people around you will gain that happiness with you.
Yeah, and I think, I've recently heard about these, cutting of these energetic cords, and I can see now why they're wanting to do that, because people are so attracted to your light, the light that you are radiating, the light and love that you are radiating, that these energetic cords are connecting to you and are basically sucking the life out of you, on a subconscious level. And so I think Helen mentioned that as well. Helene mentioned that, because, you need to cut those cords, and it's not in a bad way. It's just you're sending that energy back to that person so they can deal with that themselves.
Sure.
If they don't, it's not like I said. Don't look at anything, even if the perception is negative. Don't look at anything negative. Look at it. What is this showing me about myself? This way, you're creating the belief system of more of like, so you're in control. Okay, what did this show me? And for me, when I went through a relationship issue, I had to dig into it and find out why I attracted that person into my life, and what did I let go of to let that person in my life, And as Treb said, I wasn't true to myself, which I normally am, but these are experiences, and I'm thankful for them, So you can't.
Well, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
I was just going to say, a lot of times we have a tilted or a different perception or angle that we perceive people at, because we become aware of our connection to them. If we feel this overwhelming sense of love for someone, we automatically assume and or intuitively know that these people are important for us, that they're a soulmate of sorts. And sometimes I've seen in many situations people assign such a high importance to the concept that this person's my soulmate. That means that we are destined to be together forever. And this is an issue with many people. The whole concept of marriage is very sacred to some and very ridiculous to others, but I found that there is no promise that one can make that they will feel or think a certain way for their entire life, because it just doesn't work that way. We are changing beings in every moment. So to have a marriage is fine. To love someone is fine. But when we assign a promise that, hey, we will always be together forever, better or worse, that can almost be detrimental. When you say better or worse, hey, if it gets too bad, I have to start seeing what's best for me. And if I'm miserable because I'm giving away myself to you, this can be a dangerous place for the growth of both of us, not just myself, but for you too. And this whole relationship thing is often tilted because we know these people that we don't resonate with any longer are our soulmates. So we put a high value to that. And really, everybody is a soulmate in one level or another, and every relationship we have is a soulmate too.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's why I think, of course, with all this, this spirituality and this ascension period that we're on, a lot of the soulmate, it's almost taking on a life of its own, the twin flame, the twin souls. I think that when you love yourself, basically the bottom line is when you love yourself enough where you can actually look at the perspective where it's like, oh, God, I would never tolerate this behavior like I did in that past relationship. And I think codependency has an issue. Some people, they just can't be by themselves. They have to be in a relationship, whether it's good or bad. And I think that's a lot of that old energy that we need to get rid of. I mean, if you know that you're having issues, relationship issues, and it's a pattern, that's when I would take a break. Take a break from being in a relationship and loving yourself enough and having enough respect for yourself to say, well, I'm going to wait for my, to raise my vibration enough to attract a high vibrational mate. And I think when we do this and use these, like Treb said, to take time to get to know this person, and you'll get the, like I said, for me, I can, like, in a matter of a minute, I can tell what someone's about. I don't know. I've always had that, but sometimes you let things pass, and again, I can have this perspective now because I'm learning more about this as we go along. But
well, yeah,
you learn to read someone in like 30 seconds. You can find out what their intentions are. You can almost see through them, But I think have you ever had a relationship with someone that you actually knew it was wrong going into it, but you did it anyway?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's that first intention that you never listen to. So if you can learn to hone that energy and hone that intuition, so you get out of the cycle of these these negative relationships. But again, they're not, again, we put the title on them as negative, but again, we have to twist that around and look at as positive because it's a learning process. So don't beat yourself up about it and don't carry the baggage of those old relationships. You have to say, this person taught me this about myself, and, next time I'm going to be true to myself and learn to, say, I'm not really feeling comfortable about it. And this way you can be honest with that person, and maybe that person can learn or let them go on and find someone of their, similar vibration. But I think I think that the new energies are not tolerating that behavior anymore. I mean,
no.
I think I see people out and about that are not in the knowing, and they're just like, they're confused. They don't know why. Everybody's single. Okay, everybody's single. The ones that are married are unhappy. And it's funny to view this in a room of 100 people, and you hear people, both men and women, saying, "Hey, I don't know what's going on." It's like, women don't want to date, and men are fed up, and it's because they're struggling with their inner couple that each of them have. They're not balanced. We're going through this phase where we're balancing that inner couple in all of us. That masculine and feminine energy, the logic and the feeling aspect of it. So, I think if we go more from use our heart more instead of our logical mind, like, oh, what is this? Who is this person? What can they do for me? What, it kind of filters out all that superficial type of those aspects that really are not true to a true relationship, which should be loving and nurturing and caring.
Sure.
And that feminine feeling side, But
well, sure.
Again, even females, there's a lot of females that have a lot of masculine energy, and they're aggressive, and they're going into relationships for certain reasons. And they might be subconscious, but they're doing it subconsciously, and they're getting into it. And so it's not only the masculine. It's again, we're all carrying a couple in each of us. That's the way I look at it. I kind of use that analogy of, like, I have a couple because we're in this duality earth that we live in, and we both have positive and masculine and feminine aspects of ourselves. And I think it's the balancing of those energies that will bring us that right person into our life.
Well, yeah, absolutely, brother. And that's the balancing that's done in oneself that really creates happiness, too. And you notice, like you said, the men and women thing, the differences in the way the energy is right now, you see this playing out on larger scales. This isn't just person-to-person, relationship to relationship. You see countries, entire countries like the Ukraine is moving into the same thing. They're having this coup, this taking down of the president, and that's a manifestation of the masculine energy of the old system of Russia and the feminine energy of the people who want to be treated right, who want to be well. So they're struggling right now, and that struggle is being played out in front of our eyes on a global scale. And it's not just Ukraine. I've heard about 6 countries in the last week that are having the same issue. People who are in the country are tired of the struggle. They're tired of the suppression. They're tired of that mean masculine energy. And don't get me wrong, masculine energy is not. It's very divine, as divine as feminine energy. But it's still an aggressive version of that, and that's what they're fighting against. And that's being played out. And to see that, how that correlates to us, we've got to have that balance. I have always, since I started waking up about 7-8 years ago, I started looking in myself, and the masculine energy overwhelmed me. I would cry at commercials. I would cry at TV shows. I would just be so in touch. I'd see a tree and almost die. It felt like an energetic orgasm just because I was so intensely connected to this thing. And that's how that brought back all that nasty, overwhelming, mean masculine energy that I carried for the years before that. It just took over. And then I started balancing it. I brought the masculine version back that I needed and kept the feminine that I loved and desired. And that balance is what helps me be a level-headed, even, very good person to get along with.
Absolutely, brother. That's a perfect analogy. And yeah, on a grander scale, I mean, if you can't see that these old energies, the past, again, however many thousands of years up to and before 2012, this system is breaking down. I mean, I could see it in business. I can see it in all aspects of the government. I mean, it's breaking down, but it's dying hard. I mean, it's fighting. It's trying to get a grip, but it's losing it. I mean,
sure.
The corruption that used to feed off fear is there's no more fuel for it, and it's going. It's just a matter of time. But I think as we push the envelope on our consciousness and lose that fear in ourselves, it goes into that grid. And again, it's so important to remember that grid, that magnetic grid that we are all feeding energies back and forth into around the world. And I think she said Kalina was a grid worker.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
Made perfect sense. I mean, I don't know what symptoms that she has during the day, but if there's usually grid workers are generally they're doing that grid work on a subconscious level during the waking hours. It's not all. I think they rest in the sleep state, but I think most of them are could be tired emotionally during the day because they're doing this grid work during the waking hours, and so it's really amazing. But yeah, you're right, brother. We're moving in the right direction, and like I said, I don't look at anything negative anymore. You generally have to be cool with everything. What used to bother you before, you got to let go of judgment. You just got to be cool with everything, and stay in the high vibration, and you'll attract wonderful things to you and wonderful experiences. That's what I've had, But you got to believe that I can choose to look at something in either a positive or negative way, and it's really as easy as that. But it's like, do you want to believe it's that easy, or do you want to take another permission slip and have to do it the long way? You don't have to. I mean, like I said, just the mere fact that they're calling it a permission slip, it's a moot point. I mean, it's like, no, I don't want to take that permission slip. I'll just go, I'll just tell me how to do it, and so.
Well, absolutely, brother, and that's something too. It's interesting when you said the effects. Kalina has talked to me about a lot of the things, and you said that she was a grid worker. She's experienced the releasing of a lot of negative energy at this time too. Crying, emotional energy, just a lot of release. And those things are very wonderful, as that shows a part of the co-creation. You have the people who do grid work crying, things like that, weather that comes out, and I know I shouldn't correlate crying to weather. That doesn't sound very attractive in a way, so sorry about that, Kalina, if you're listening. And also,
well, no, it's good, actually, but feeling your emotions is the best thing you can do. That's the problem. Well, that's the thing that we're not doing, is feeling our emotions. That's so important, and it's such a huge aspect that we're, cry. If you have to cry, whatever you have to do to feel those emotions instead of bearing them down, that's the worst thing you can do. Bring it up and feel it. I don't care how much it hurts. If it's a past relationship, keep bringing it up until you come to the realization that I love myself, and I'm letting go of the idea of that person because I love myself now. You know what I mean? So you can let go of that and let go of the negativity of what you thought that person was. It's releasing all of that. It's the purging of all that, but you got to dig into it. You got to go through that. You got to go through that heartache, but on the other side of that, you'll become a better person, and you won't make that mistake again instead of doing the same thing over and over again. And, what you want to do is resonate with people on a high vibrational level, whether it be friends, whether it be another positive relationship, whatever it may be. But give yourself that time to love yourself, and that's where it all changes,
Absolutely, and that's the side effects of all this release for a lot of people. People who do grid work or people who are just living in their own life, they have that release of negative energy because they're accepting more love for themselves, and that's a beautiful point, brother. I know right now we've got about 9 minutes left in our scheduled time. I'm not sure if you wanted to go over that time. We can if we need to, most definitely. But we got about 9 minutes left, and I know that there are so many things we could talk about this evening, literally just going in any pathway and direction, brother. I do believe exactly as you said that pathway to self-love always ends up with releasing of all the baggage, all the negative, all the energy that no longer serves you. And this has happened collectively to so many people. And I'm excited to see it. It makes me smile. Every time I hear a story of someone doing this, it brings a smile to my heart.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of the old patterning. It's hard to let go of the old ways. But when you do that, and again, it's emotionally difficult, but I think when you do that, you're giving yourself that time to really recognize that, your true nature is love, and anything, if you're not feeling love all the time for yourself and having a positive experience all the time, then you know that you're out of alignment a little bit. And then that's where you need to just dig into those things that don't hide them anymore. If something's in the back of your mind and like I said, whatever it may be, dig into it. Just dig into it and figure out why I'm feeling this way. And you'll be better off, but you just need to let go of that baggage.
Well, absolutely, and there's a lot of baggage too that I've released talking with Helene in the session. And that's something too that I think next week I'm going to do is share that little bits of clips out of that session that we had with Helene. Personally, on my own part of the story, I want to share some of the things, some of the observations that she had seen when she was, because she did me and George separately, but we were together on a group call. So I'm going to share parts of my my session with you guys next week and let you guys hear some of those and kind of go through each one of those and talk about them as well as take calls and do things like that. Next week's normally supposed to be the Treb Channeling first of the month, but we're going to move that down a week or so. So next week will be the Helene Lipson private session, and I'll take clips out of that and share that with you guys too, because I think that you guys can really gain a lot of perspective from that, as well as myself sharing some of those stories and concepts of how she read it, why she read it, and how correct it was too. I think that'll be really a huge blessing to share that with people.
Yeah, that sounds great, brother. Did you want to take any callers and extend the show, brother, or did you want to keep it?
Yeah, up to you, brother. If you'd like to take some callers, let's start. We've got a bunch of them that have been waiting.
Yeah, why don't we take some if you don't mind? I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, brother. We've talked about a lot. Let's start off with 360. I believe you were the very first caller this evening. Is this
Hi, Rob and George. Boy, did you ever cover everything tonight.
Oh, we sure did. George is that inspiration through him really. I know that it's not just going to serve everyone who listens tonight, but these conversations will carry on through the entirety of the history of this show because they're very deep and profound. And thank you, brother, for sharing your heart tonight.
You're welcome. Is this Risha?
Yes, this is Risha.
Hi, Risha. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah. Well, I had a couple of things to say, and your conversation will carry on because it stimulated so much within me, and I really wanted to share. So I'm glad you extended it so I could say a couple of things. And first of all, it was about Helene's readings. You know what I found so profound about that was that she is so powerful in the positive that she literally enlivened some positive stuff within me by reflecting positive what my chart said, or however she got it, back to me, that I really got it. And then throughout the week after the reading, some people said some things. Just an example, somebody gave me a compliment that I might have in the past passed off. Instead, I just sat and I opened my heart and I really took it in. And it was awesome. It just reflected back to me that I am love and that I am positive. It was really awesome. She's very good that way.
Oh, yeah, that's really what it is. I mean, it's just like Treb. It's so when the message is coming from the positive side, it's so easy to digest, and I think Helene does that too. So I agree with you, Risha. It's much easier to look at life through the positive glasses than the negative. Although we here to experience the duality, but again, it's a choice. If we're in that neutral state of being, it really is our choice to look at things either in the positive or in the negative. So she chooses to express everything on the positive aspect because, why even concentrate at all? Why give it that negative any energy at all? So I agree with you totally.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, something else I wanted to say, and I actually just got it tonight, and it was about your discussion, both of your discussions about marriage. I realized that marriage is the ultimate third-dimensional form. I think in our fifth-dimensional lives and beings, while we'll probably have some sort of marriage, you might say, some sort of union like Treb even talks about, and maybe even a family, it will not be the third-dimensional way we look at it right now. And the reason I want to say that is, while I totally got what all you were saying about discernment and about, knowing people first, I'm going to share something personal about my husband and me. And it's like when I was 15, I met somebody who was a soulmate, and I knew later on that he definitely was a soulmate. And I got pregnant and got married at 20, lost the baby, so didn't lose the baby, but I asked the baby not to be born, actually, and he said, okay, which was really great. And then we were married for quite a while, and during that time I felt we finished off, if you might call, we balanced everything off and learned a lot, and I started getting interested in spiritual things, and he started getting interested in just third-dimensional loving playing on this planet, and we just kind of drifted apart. And at one point, I just knew we were going to be divorced, and I just said to my higher self, I have some spiritual work to do, and I'm ready to do it by myself. I'm totally ready to give up a partner. I know nobody wants to do the work, whatever it was, the way I wanted to do it. So I'm willing to do it alone. And a week, and unbeknownst to me, I'd been going to this group, and there was a guy in that group who also said he was married also, and he said he was ready to do some spiritual work, but he felt he needed some support to do it, and he wasn't getting it in his marriage. Well, a week after I said that, I was out at lunch with that guy and another couple. We were sitting there. We hardly knew each other. Honest to God, this is the truth. A light descended around us, went just like a tornado around us. And he said he heard this voice that said, turn and look me in the eyes. And I heard a voice that said, turn and look. And when we turned and looked at each other, so much light enveloped us. We were married that moment. We physically couldn't be apart from each other. Literally. And like he moved into my apartment and I couldn't go to work. He'd come to my work and be there with me. So I had to quit work and he had to quit work. And we were together, and of course that's my husband now. We were together. And we learned the lessons of abundance. When that happened to us, a voice said, you have the choice to accept abundance right now. Just accept abundance as if it were a reality or a law, but you must do whatever work is presented for you. And I said, hey, sounds good to me. And that was 30 years ago. And we have been experiencing abundance with working very little for money. We now own 2 houses, and all kinds of stuff have come to us just through abundance. It sounds like a fairy tale, I know, but it's very true. And about 2 years ago,
beautiful.
About 2 years ago, I was sitting out by the fire, and I had this thing to take my ring off and throw it in the fire. And I did. And about 3 months ago, Stanley had this thing to take off his wedding ring. And he did. And the freedom that resulted from us taking off our rings and no longer being married in the sense that you think in the third dimension, I think it's setting a new paradigm. It's nothing but freedom. Anyway, that's a very long story,
That's a very beautiful story. The concept of you synchronistically connecting to him and finding this complete attraction where you could not be outside of each other's presence. That's what I mean. And for instance, let's say that one day that faded between you two, there should always be able to be a freedom to move to the next person that you feel that love for without hurt feelings. And that's what a lot of the marriage concepts really do to us. It makes us feel guilty about no longer resonating with the person, or making us feel guilty about no longer connecting on the same vibrational level. And it's hard. It does make it very difficult for people. They go through the state mindset, well, I promise, I've got to do this. This is the worst part of For Better or Worse. And they continue to give away themselves. And through my own divorce that I'm going through now, I have found the issue of when you give away from yourself, it takes away from who you are. But I always looked at that only from my perspective, but I didn't realize that my vibration being so different from hers, she didn't enjoy that either. It didn't synchronize with her. So both of us were suffering. It wasn't just myself, and it wasn't fair to continue that suffering for both of us because of a promise that was made 20 years ago that couldn't allow us to seek freedom in our own path.
Yeah, exactly. I always thought that if you scrape the bottom of the barrel as far as lessons to be learned, whether it's to love yourself or to whatever you came together for, once you've done that, that's all you need to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think you know when you do it. I think we know when we've completed that. And with my first husband being my very first boyfriend, it was the hardest thing I ever did. It was like cutting off my arm. I tell you, it was so hard to move out of that house, which I did. I had already moved out of the house, but we were still married. We were still best of friends. And we always have been the best of friends. But it was really, really hard to make the break. But I just felt there was something more. And if I hadn't done that, I never would have met Stanley.
Yeah, Risha, thank you so much for sharing that. That was so beautiful. I think you're absolutely right about, look at you and Stanley now. It's, you met that high vibrational person that you were meant to be with, and those unions are very, very possible. Sometimes it works out that way. Sometimes it's that learning lesson that we need, like the initial relationship. But they are possible, and it's so beautiful that you're able to experience that love now, and I know that on the higher dimensional beings, of course, there's no marriage there. There's no ego. There's not any of those trappings that really hurt us on this three-dimensional experience. But that's why we're here. So we can't expect to be incarnated in a world of duality and not have these in conflicts, or else we wouldn't learn. But as we raise ourselves in consciousness and have that self-awareness, we can have those beautiful relationships on this earth as well. But I think, again, it's that old energy of using the ego instead of the heart, using the logical mind instead of the more on a heart level. But those lessons had to be, even that first one, Risha, was probably a soulmate as well. But you met the higher vibrational soulmate Stanley is for you now. So that's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And thank you, Risha, too, for calling in. We got to take another caller here. We've only got about 20 minutes left in our time on air, and we've got a couple things to go over too at the end. Our normal announcements that we make every week. I'm trying to see the order. The 443 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hey. Yeah, we hear you. Who do we have with us?
Hello, Vital.
Oh, hey, Vital. How are you doing?
I'm okay. You're doing better with spelling my name.
Oh.
Well, I didn't know what to expect from today's call, but I said, well, it's going to work out somehow. And I was so surprised. I was listening to you talking, and I said to myself, I know those words. I know this inner conversation, and I'm so familiar with those sentences. And then I said to myself, it's the same conversations I was making 32 years ago with my first husband. I said, that was the same social conversation I was making with everybody, exactly the same words, sometimes, not in that kind of broader perspective, because people were not ready to think about anything beyond their life.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept that I was living, And when I heard you talking, I said to myself, I don't know if somebody would tell me that I would have to wait all those years to hear men saying those things. I said, I don't know what I would have I don't know what I would have done. But actually, this kind of conversation was bringing to some kind of a closure for me. It's like summarizing some kind of a circle for me. I can tell you that it was something that I was so sensitive to, and even until today, the concept of marriage, the concept of soulmates, the concept of people having agreements, and this is something that was following me, and I was following it for many, many, many years. And it happened to me that when people came with the relationships, I used to say, you have to refresh your contract. Whatever was right for you 5 years ago or 10 years ago may not be the right thing for you right now. And if you still want to be together, you have to refresh your contracts, because it may not work. And the thing about coming from really seeing the other person and developing a relationship, that was something that I learned, I don't know how many years ago, but I don't remember exactly, really long time ago, and over 13, 15 years ago, I said, that's not going to work. And then I went celibate for about 6 years, because I said, there's too many platforms for relationships here, and I'm not interested with that. Telling you that I got into my happy ending, probably yes, but not as as Risha. Okay, but it's definitely getting better. And what about you talking about people being single and waiting to, not finding someone and being in a better vibration to attract the right person? This is something that I see every time on the readings, and I'm saying to people, I wouldn't pursue a relationship right now if I would be you. I would just work on the vibration. I would work on my energy. I would get into the point that I want to be, and then I'm going to set up the vibration into the right relationship that I want to move into my life. So actually, I just want to say thank you for this conversation, and I will definitely pass it over to another man that will be able to, yes, because I think men in this time are the ones that are struggling the most, because women are much more connected to their feelings and emotions, and this is actually the time that we are we are freeing ourselves, that women are redeemed from the chain of the past of the masculine energy. Women are like shaking off this heavy, choking masculine energy, feel more to be themselves, happier, with the situation. And I feel that men are the ones that are struggling the most. They don't know really what to do with themselves. And Rob, what you said about, wanting to die just looking at a tree, I was nearly on the floor. I said, my goodness, this is so good. I just love that. I just love that because it was such a burst, flow of energy coming out of you. And I said, that's so amazing. It's so rare to find somebody actually expressing such a huge, explosion of energy, and you said it's over a tree. It's I want to die, and as a man, I said to myself, oh, that's the Christ time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we came to the day.
it's a wonderful, wonderful way to come into that own energy, and the feminine overtook my energy so much. It was a very, very beautiful experience. I hate to do Sri Vitel, but I'm going to have to cut this part short. We got 14 minutes left, and we've got a couple things we got to get done before the evening's up. But thank you for calling in. We enjoy your call every time, and keep calling in and listening.
Thank you for taking my call. Bye-bye.
Oh, absolutely.
Bye,
love you.
Bye-bye.
All right, brother. We got 14 minutes. Do you think we have time for another short call, or should we just continue out throughout the evening?
Yeah, I'd like to take another call. They're great so far.
Oh, absolutely. All right. We've got a 239 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hi, Rob. Hi, George. It's Alex. How are you?
Hi, Alex.
Hey. I was just really enjoying the show. George, your monologue there from the start all the way through like the first hour set me on fire. I mean, I was just blown away, especially because it correlates so strongly with what I'm going through. I mean, I don't even want to use the word resonate because I just feel like it's just lockstep with what I'm going through. And I had some totally different subjects that I wanted to bring up tonight. But, you know, instead of that, there is one thing of particular interest of mine that you guys touched on, which is the grid workers. What did Helene say about grid workers? Because, you know, I missed that show completely. I was too busy to tune in that night, and I regret it after hearing, you know, tonight's show. Man, I must have missed an absolute, powerful, packed show. But what are the grid workers? Because I'm totally unfamiliar with that.
Well, I don't think she didn't get into the actual definition of one, but we could do that. The grid worker is basically the people that incarnate and on a we'll call it a subconscious level. Their mission on Earth is to repair and make sure this grid, this magnotheric grid that transfers all of our energies between all the people on Earth, it's a flow of energy that goes back and forth. That's how the higher dimensional energies that are looking at our Earth and kind of guiding it in the right direction, that's how they can gauge our vibration as a whole, as a collective. And what the grid worker does is in the waking hours, they actually repair and make sure that the flow of this energy is congruent, is constantly flowing at the rate it should. So I don't know how they do it on a physical level. You know, maybe it's scanning between maybe a spot that has a broken in between area and repairing that, and maybe keeping the connection alive. So that's what I've learned from what they actually do. But it's not an easy job. There's a lot of energies. There's a lot of it's just not easy, and there's a lot of work that's involved in it on an energetic level. And so it's really a huge thing. I know that in a channeling that I was one in another lifetime. So that's how I got the explanation for it, for what they actually do. But it's a very big. It's huge. It's huge. They have a lot of tasks that are being done, and their waking hours and they can experience, if they're not in alignment with themselves, they can experience a lot of disharmony because there has a lot of energy that's working through them, and that they need to be grounded, because that's what they actually do. They ground this energy to the Earth, as we all do, but they have a specific job. That's their job here in a certain incarnation, if that makes sense.
And it's actually, a lot of people associate it like the Earth consciousness itself has a chakra system, And that chakra system, just like we do, we have lots of minor chakras, ones that we don't perceive, but those help carry energy throughout the rest of our body. And that's what this etheric grid is. Treb's explained that it has multiple variations. The main lines, the first lines, are very large and only go to the 7 chakra areas. The secondary lines go to many other places and are slightly less powerful than the first. And then what Treb's labeled the 30-area lines instead of the third lines, he called it the 30-area and 40-area, because I think that secondary kind of rubbed off on the other 2 words. But all sorts of it, and there's multiple levels of it. It extends. If you look at it, it looks like a gigantic spider web, and it connects each entity, animal, plant, even first density entities. Each one of them have their own specific grid, and each, like one breed of bird, a robin or a blue jay, they have their own etheric grid. That's why animals can communicate across the world. When one learns the 100th monkey syndrome is something that has helped prove that etheric line, where after the 100th monkey learns a specific thing, that monkeys that are in islands that are close to them, but no way that those animals can show each other, are learning instinctively. It's that information energy that's passed through the grid. And that's kind of what the grid worker does. They repair lines, like you said, brother. They just share that energy, too. And thank you, too, Alex, for calling. Unfortunately, we've only got about 8 minutes or so left. So we should start wrapping up the show. To do some of the announcements, just like we do at the beginning of the show, the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a program that we pay for to broadcast, but it's free for everyone to listen. Donations can be made at, you can go to PayPal, go to the Rob and George Show at gmail.com. You can also go to Treb Channeling, and there's a separate link to donate to that on the Donate tab itself. You can contact us at the Rob and George Show at gmail.com, too, for letters, the pages, all of those things that you can normally do here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, that's 6 p.m. Pacific time. We love you guys very, very, very much. And, brother, is there anything that you want to add for the closing of our show?
Yeah, I wanted to say to you, brother, and we talked about this before, but I wanted to tell all the listeners, my job is taking me overseas for really, I'm not sure how long, but I'll have to do some pretty heavy traveling. So I won't be on the show for a while, and I wanted to just express my gratitude for the experience on being on the show. The listeners, I mean, thank you, Alex, for resonating with what I was saying there. I was hoping somebody would make sense of that. I know it might seem a little far-fetched, but it's what my feelings are about these certain things. But yes, I'll have to be doing quite a bit of traveling, and I wanted to tell everybody to please support the show as much as you can. Rob works very hard, as you well know, and there aren't a lot of places where you can express your feelings. Like, this is a one-of-a-kind show, and I wanted just to express my appreciation for the experience, for the learning that I've had through the callers and the discussions that we've had here. And I'll keep in touch with Rob, and I hope at some point, I can, if I come up with any other ideas or thoughts that I can express. I've had a few for, excuse me, for the channelers themselves. I think that there's, if you can kind of create the unity consciousness approach with the channeling work, and start creating these groups together, I think there's much power. There's power in numbers, and I think that I would think that it's about time that maybe you could start creating these type of organizations where you could accredit yourself through maybe different types of associations, and you can get sanctioned by the state or not. I don't think you have to, but I think that getting together collectively with all of the channelers and people in this community, in this spiritual community, and create a voice for yourself to start creating businesses that you could all live off of, that will really promote to the rest of the collective, and really start, having a positive force in this world, because there's thousands and thousands. What do you have, 5,000 on your Facebook, brother? I mean,
yeah, just
huge.
Broke that record a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine what, if you put all of these people together, there's a lot of power in those numbers, and I'd like to see, more unification in terms of what type of benefits that channelers can give, to people individually, in groups, and information like that. I mean, it's priceless. It's priceless, and I just hope that we can move forward and start creating this abundance, because I know it's out there. And it's such a gift to be able to channel and give this very valuable information to the public. So I'll do my best in whatever I can to help promote this type of idea in terms of creating businesses like this. So there actually can be more support and more abundance in this field. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, brother, for the opportunity through these years of working together with you. It's been priceless, and it's just been a beautiful thing. So I'm sure at some point we can maybe jump on together and talk about things and how things are going. But I just wanted to say thank you so much, and please, everyone, please support the Treb Channeling and support them any way you can, because and your local channeler, whoever the channeler of your that you might have that you really resonate with, please support them as much as you can, because this is how they make their living. And that's about it, brother. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you too, brother. And when I first heard the news that the work is taking you overseas and that you won't be able to be the active part of the show, my human side kicked in, and I got sad and upset. And since then, since we've had a chance to talk, I realized that there's nothing that's sad about this. This is a path that you're taking, a path that me and you have been on together for a long time, a beautiful path that's helped so many people. And regardless of if you are here every week or not, you'll always be here with us in our hearts and our minds. You connecting to me and sharing things, I will always bring those back to the people. I also imagine if your time schedule allows you, who knows how that's going to work out, but you'll always be available to call in, to co-host with me anytime you want. And who knows, you might have a good break and be able to come back. So it's not a goodbye. It's
oh no.
It's
oh, no,
I love you, and it is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful path that you've been given this great opportunity to do something that you wanted to do for a long time.
Yeah, it's what I used to do. I in the past, I've mostly been in the software industry, in the finance in the mortgage, but really when I was in the software industry, I traveled a lot overseas. But working out of the house right now, I think it's time to kind of get out there again and kind of see the world again. So I'm kind of excited about that. But really, the show and the relationship, brother, with you and has really been my highest excitement, and will always be. I mean, talking about this information is really what I love to do, and it's been such a great experience for me, and I as I think of things, like I said, I'd be happy to come back on and talk about these different, what's new, what revelations that come up. I'm really opening up with these different dreams and downloads. So I just look forward to it. And again, I want everybody to please continuing the support of the show and Treb Channeling. Everybody loves him. He's the best. So it's just been a wonderful thing, and my heart goes out to all of our guests, all Daniel Scranton, Wendy, Kennedy, Brad Johnson, Helene Lipson. I mean, it's just beautiful people, and there's so much love to be shared and expressed, and I would hope that this continues in my absence, and really try to have more. I think we all need that unity consciousness, and a lot of that being separate old energy is on its way out. So I think if we all keep positive, and things are looking bright. I mean, I could see a brighter future, and I don't believe a lot of these initial channelings, I think, from a while back that said these certain timelines would happen in 10 or 20 years. I believe nothing is static, and I think that things can come as fast as we want them to appear on the positive side. And so as long as we stay positive and we want these things to happen, I think that's the most important thing. We're so very valuable. The universe is looking at us because we're a part of that universe family. And so I really look forward to listening to the show. It's just the time difference from being overseas to now. That's really the only reason why I wouldn't be able to do this show. But like I said, brother, we'll keep in touch and we'll get together and talk about it. And
well, absolutely, brother. We can't not stay in contact. We've been such a huge part of each other's lives. Unfortunately, the recording for the last probably 45 to 60 seconds is gone, but everyone who's on call right now, who's listening from the telephone, is able to hear. It's just not the people on the internet. And fortunately, as we're going, I'm recording this, so I'll be able to add this onto the archive. So please finish your thoughts, brother. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's about it, brother. I just want to again thank all the listeners, thank everybody for the love. On Facebook, so many great friends there, which I'll keep in touch with them as well. But just really love yourself is what I want to leave you with. Love yourself. It's the most important thing you can ever do, and that'll resonate with everybody around you, and you'll start attracting the people that you want in your life. So I'll leave you with that.
Thank you, brother. And I love you too, and you know how great of a part you've been, not just in my life, our personal friendship, but a part of Treb Channeling and a part of the Rob and George show. Your energy lives on, and all of those things as you'll still be a part of it, a huge part. And I love you so much, brother, and thank you for sharing that with us all tonight. I'm going to be back here next week, and this is a little bit of the reason why I won't be able to do the question answer with Treb next week, but we will be back next week. I'll be back next week, and I'll be able to talk with you guys, and I'll share a little bit at Helene Lipson. And I love you, brother, and thank you so much for everything that you've done. And appreciation for you and your love is great. And I love you, brother, so much.
Love you too, brother. And if you need someone next week, and if you don't have anybody to go through those questions, I'd be happy to jump in and do that for you if you need me. But
absolutely, brother. That's I've already told you that too. It's an open invitation. Any week you want to jump in, you can be here.
All right, brother. Thank you so much, and again, thank you all the listeners and the people that love the show. I wish you all the best, and sending you all my love.
right, and this is the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. This is Rob.
And this is George.
And we're out of here for tonight. We love you guys very much.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.